SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation. SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation.
Surf Excel නම් භාගයයි මාසයකට වඩා රිදි සෝතයි.
Tonight, fruits of the curfew. Health experts observe a 50% reduction in new COVID cases and a 40% slide in deaths. Eyeing to reopen schools. Child vaccination to kick off from next week. Questions and questions. The Samagi Janabalawege are unhappy with the new central bank governor candidate.
Governor of the then central bank did not disclose his conflicts of interest.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Sunday, the 12th of September, 2021.
දසනකාන්තී චූර්ණය සහිත ලීවර් ආයිෂ් දන්තාලේපය දත්වල ඇති ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් වලකයි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Ekanai. Now then, data from research website. World life expectancy reveals that COVID-19 has become the 5th leading cause of death in Sri Lanka today, which emphasises the gravity of the pandemic situation in the country. Meanwhile, medical experts say that the country is reaping the benefits of the quarantine curfew as they highlight a notable reduction in new COVID cases and fatalities. On the other hand, however, parliamentarian and virologist Professor Tista Vitarna is not very happy about how the curfew is being policed.
Sri Lanka announced a full-blown island-wide quarantine curfew on the 20th of last month to prevent the spreading of the Delta variant, which was rampant at the time. Following the move, daily cases and deaths have been on the decline. However, Sri Lanka continues to be a high-risk country in terms of the virus spread.
මියගිය සංඛ්‍යාව 40%කින් පමණ දුනාගන්නා රෝගීන් ප්‍රමාණයත් 50%කින් පමණ අඩුවීමක් අපි දකිනවා. අපි ඒ ගැන ඉතා සන්තෝෂ වෙනවා. රටවල් වර්ගීකරණය යටතේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තවමත් පවතින්නේ අධි අනාරක්ෂිත නැත්නම් රතු කලාපයේ රටක් හැටියට. රෝගීන් ප්‍රමාණය දිනකට 950කට වඩාවත් අඩු කරගෙන කරන පරීක්ෂණ වලින් හඳුනා ගන්නා රෝගීන් ප්‍රමාණය 2.5 දක්වා පමණ අඩු කරගත යුතුයි. ඔක්තෝබර් 2 දක්වා මේ පවත්වාගෙන ගියොත් දහසකගේ මියයනයක අඩු කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ප්‍රමාණිකූලව රට නැවත අරිනෝ නම් වඩාත් හොඳ ප්‍රතිඵල ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි.
Virologist and parliamentarian Professor Tissa Vitarana, however, is unimpressed about how the quarantine curfew is policed.
පොකුරු හැටියට නෙමෙයි දැන් මේක පැතිර යන්නේ සමාජගත වෙලා තියෙනවා. වෛරසයේ 80%ක් විතර බෝ වෙන අය රෝග ලක්ෂණ පෙන්වන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන් සමාජයේ ගැවසෙනවා. වැඩි PCR රැඩ් පරීක්ෂණය කළ යුතුයි. යම් ප්‍රදේශ වහලා හැමෝම නිවස් වලට සීමා වෙලා සතියක් අයත් මේ කාලේ දික් කරලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් මම කනගාටුයි කියන්නේ වටපිටාවේ ගිහිල්ලා බලනකොට ඌමනා කරන විදිහට ඒක ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙලා නැහැ. උදාහරණයක් හැටියට මිලිටරිය, පොලිසිය මේ වගේ ඔක්කොම දාලා ඒක ටිකක් තදින් ක්‍රියාත්මක කළා නම් වඩා හොඳයි.
The curfew may be effective in curbing the virus spread, but in reality, it simply cannot be sustained over long periods of time, something also conceded by the Government Medical Officers Association.
රට වැසීම තුළ මේ වැසීම කියන එක අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වුණ තරමේ සංචරණ සීමාවක් සිද්ධ වුණේ නැති බවත් අපි නිර්දේශ කරේ 90%ක සංචරණ සීමාවක් 60%ක විතර සංචරණ සීමාවක් තමයි ඇත්තටම ප්‍රායෝගිකව ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණේ. ඒතකොට මේ තත්වයේ යටතේ වුණත් වේගයෙන් පැතිරීමේ යම්කිසි අඩුවක් වුණා කියන එක පැහැදිලි. මරණ සංඛ්‍යාව අඩුවීම පැහැදිලිවම මේ සංචරණ සීමාත් එක්ක ළඟා කරගත්ත දෙයක්. නමුත් තේරුම් ගන්න ඕන වැදගත්ම දේ මේ සංචරණ සීමා දිගින් දිගට මේ ආකාරයට අපට
Increasing the testing to detect infections in the community had been a crucial element of curbing the spread of the virus. So far today, Sri Lanka has conducted 12,285 PCR tests to identify the carriers of the virus. The Medical Laboratory Technologists Association today called on the government to involve the vast group of health officials within the system to expedite the testing process.
අමුදාපතිවරයා එක වෙලාවක කියනවා මේ PCR පරීක්ෂණ කරගන්න බැරි මහජන සෞඛ්‍ය පරීක්ෂකවරුන්ට වැඩ වැඩි නිසා කියලා. ඒ නිසා අපි කියන්නේ ශේෂ්ත්‍රය තුල පෞල් සෞඛ්‍ය සේවා නිලධාරීන් ඉන්නවා, මහජන සෞඛ්‍ය රසායනාගාර ශිල්පීන් ඉන්නවා, ඒ වගේම ශේෂ්ත්‍ර නිලධාරීන් ඉන්නවා, කීට විද්‍යා සහකාර නිලධාරීන් ඉන්නවා. මේ වගේ ශේෂ්ත්‍රගතව ඕනෑම පෞලකට ගිහිලා ගෙදරකට ගිහිලා PCR පරීක්ෂණය අරන් එන්නත් පුළුවන් විදිහේ සෞඛ්‍ය යාන්ත්‍රණයක් අපේ රටට තියෙන නිසා.
So far today, 2022 fresh cases of the novel coronavirus have been confirmed, with 1,579 people being confirmed to have recovered from the virus today. The total number of recoveries in the island shot up to 412,812.
The government has decided to begin child vaccinations by next week under 3 phases with the aim of facilitating a safe reopening of schools. Under the first phase, children aged between 12 and 19 years with underlying health conditions will be given priority. The Government Medical Officers Association insists that only hospitals be used when vaccinating children, as they should be better monitored during the process.
The focus is very much on the country's child population, with authorities gearing up to vaccinate the 12 to 19-year age category to facilitate a safe and a quick reopening of schools. A decision has been made to inoculate the child population of the country starting from next week. However, it would be the children with underlying health conditions who will be vaccinated first.
ළමයි 100ට අඩු ග්‍රාමීය ප්‍රදේශවල තියෙන පාසල් මුලින් ආරම්භ කරන්න තමයි අවධානය යොමු කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මොකද පොදු ප්‍රවාහන සේවා භාවිතා කරන්නේ නැතුව තමයි ගොඩක් මේ පාසල් පවත්වාගෙන යන්නේ. ඒ ළමුන් පැමිණෙන්නේ ග්‍රාමීය ප්‍රදේශවල තියෙන විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි දන්නවා මේ සූම් මෘදුකාංගයේ ඔස්සේ සහ අනිකුත් නව තාක්ෂණ ක්‍රම භාවිතා කරන්න අපහසු ප්‍රදේශවල තමයි මේ ළමයි 100ට අඩු ඉස්කෝල තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒවට ප්‍රමුඛ ස්ථානයක් ලබා දෙන්න තමයි අප තීරණය කරේ ජනාධිපති කාර්යසාධන බලකායේදී. ඒ වගේම ෆයිසර් එන්නත් මාත්‍රා ලක්ෂ 40ක් ඔක්තෝබර් මාසයේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට ලැබෙන්නේ නියමිතයි. එම එන්නතුත් සුදුසු විදිහට පාසල් ළමුන් සඳහා යොදා ගන්න අපි නිර්දේශ බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් සිටිනවා. ඒ විශේෂඥ කමිටුව ඔවුන්ගේ නිර්දේශ ලබා දුන්නට පස්සේ පාසල් ළමුන් සඳහා එන්නත්කරණය ආරම්භ කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒත් එක්කම මේ වෙනකොටත් අපට නිර්දේශ ලැබිලා තියෙනවා විශේෂ අවශ්‍යතා තියෙන ඒ වගේම සංජානනීය ආබද්ධා තියෙන දරුවන්ව එන්නත්කරණයට ලක් කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා ඔවුන් සඳහා ෆයිසර් එන්නත ලබන සතියේ සිට ලබා දෙන්න අප කටයුතු යොදලා තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, also weighing in on the matter, the Government Medical Officers Association says that vaccination of children must be conducted within the hospital system and under strict medical supervision.
අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මේ එන්නත්කරණය රෝහල් තුල තමයි මේ කටයුත්ත කෙරෙන්නට වෙන්නේ. දැඩි වෛද්‍ය අධීක්ෂණය යටතේ කෙරෙන්නට උවමනායි. ඒ නිසා ඒ සඳහා අපේ රෝහල් පද්ධතිය සූදානමින් ඉන්නවා. රෝහල් පද්ධතිය තුල තමයි මේක ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම සඳහා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. මොකද දරුවන්ගේ පරිස්සම ගැන ඒ තරම්ම අපි සැලකිලිමත් විය යුතු නිසා. මාධ්‍ය හරහා දෙමාපියන් දැනුවත් කිරීමට කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ වගේම දෙමාපියන්ට වෙන්වෙන් වශයෙන් වෛද්‍යවරු උපදේශනය කරලා ඒ අය මේ සඳහා පොළඹවා ගැනීමට ඉදිරියේදී කටයුතු කරනවා. සංකූල ඇති දරුවන්ට තමයි මේ එන්නත මුලින්ම දෙන්නට අවශ්‍ය. මේ සඳහා අපි දෙමාපියන් කැමැති කරවා ගැනීමට පොළඹවා ගැනීමට ඉදිරියේදී වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ඉතා ඉක්මනින් ආරම්භ කරනවා.
By last evening, 10,544,228 people in the island had been fully immunized. 2,914,393 people have been partially vaccinated in the country and are awaiting their second dose. Yesterday alone, 225,521 people were vaccinated across the country. Meanwhile, immunization of the 20 to 29-year age category continues at vaccination centres dedicated for the age group. What's more, the mobile vaccination program implemented to vaccinate the elderly population of the country, as well as those with mobility issues, are also being carried out uninterrupted.
Sri Lankan pathologist and virologist Professor Malik Piris from the University of Hong Kong, together with Professor Yuen Kwok Yung from the same university, have won the Life Science Prize under the 2021 Future Science Prize. The duo won the prize for their discoveries of SARS-CoV-1 as the causative agent for the global SARS outbreak in 2003 and its zoonotic origin, which impact on combating COVID-19 and emerging infectious diseases. The prize also includes a $1 million cash reward. Professor Malik Piris, Professor's research interests, I should say, include ecology, evolution, pathogenesis, epidemiology of animal-human influenza and other human respiratory viral infections. He has also authored over 320 research publications. The Future Science Prize is a privately funded science prize established by a group of renowned scientists and entrepreneurs in 2016 to promote scientific breakthroughs and innovations in the Greater China region, including mainland, Taiwan, Hong Kong and Macau. The prize is given in 3 categories: life science, physical science, as well as mathematics and computer science, with $1 million of prize money for each reward. Leading entrepreneur Dhammika Perera says that the country's debt burden will increase further if the US dollar appreciates to 233 rupees from the current 203. His views came during a webinar last evening. Also speaking there, chairman of the Derana Media Network, Dilip Jayavir, insisted that the country's businesses can compete globally despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
A webinar to educate the business community in Sri Lanka on how to overcome challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic was worked off last evening with the participation of a few of the country's leading entrepreneurs. The webinar bearing the theme Let's Think Anew and Succeed was organised by the organisation Aramuna.
දැන් සමහරක් අය හිතනවා නම් ඩොලර් එක 203 තියෙන එක 233 තියන්න ඕනේ කියලා. එතකොට රුපියල් 30ක් ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ඒ කියන්නේ ණයබර වැඩි වෙනවා. එතකොට ඩොලර් බිලියන 33ක් ආණ්ඩුව ණයයි. එතකොට මම මේ කියන්නේ බිලියන 990ක් රටේ ණයබර වැඩි වෙනවා මේ ඩොලර් එක 233 වුණොත්. එතකොට මේ රුපියල් 30 හින්දා බිලියන 930ක් කිසිම වැඩකට කරන්නේ නැතුව අර ලෝන් එක විතරක් ඉන්ක්‍රීස් වෙනවා. දැන් මේක අපි ගත්තොත් ඩොලර් බිලියන වලින් ගත්තොත් බිලියන 4.2ක්. ඒ කියන්නේ මම කියන්නේ ආයි ගන්නේ අර රුපියල් 233 ගානේ. එතකොට දැන් හම්බන්තොට එයාපෝට් එක වගේ එකක් හදන්න ගියොත් ඒ එයාපෝට් එකට හදන්න ගියේ ඩොලර් මිලියන 200යි. එතකොට ඩොලර් මිලියන 200ක් කිව්වොත් මෙතන බිලියන 4.0 කිව්වොත් අපි එයාපෝට් 21ක් හදන්න තියෙන සල්ලි නැති කරලා දානවා.
Meanwhile, chairman of the Derana Media Network, Dilip Jayavir, said that the country's businesses can compete at a global level despite the COVID crisis.
අර්බුදය හරහා අපි හිතනවා දැන් world is flat. මොකද කාටවත් solutions තිබුණේ නැහැ මේකේ. අපි හිතන් හිටියා ලෝකේ මාර ඡන්දි ඉන්නවා කියලා අපිට වැඩි. වෙන රටවල ලොකු ඡන්දි ඉන්නවා මේ ඡන්දින්ට solutions තියෙනවා කියලා. බලනකොට එහෙම ලොකු solutions තිබිලත් නැහැ. මේකෙන් අපි උගත යුතු පාඩම තමයි අපි පොඩි නෑ. අපි මේ පොඩි කියලා හිතන්න නරකයි. අපිට ගෝලීය තරගකාරීත්වයකට යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකට මුහුණ දෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් බලන්න හැමෝම හිතන්නේ කොහොමද business ගැන? අපි හිතුවද කලින් මෙහෙම? අපි හිතුවද business ගැන මේ විදිහට global විදිහට? අවංකව කිව්වොත් මම මේ මට්ටමට කවදාකවත් හිතලා නැහැ. මෙච්චර ගෝලීය අවස්ථාවන් පසුපස හඹා යයිතුයි කියලා. අපි දැන් හැම දෙයක්ම හිතන්නේ positively. අපි ආයෝජනය කරලා තිනවා හෝටල් කාමර වලට. ධම්මික ඊට වැඩි ආයෝජනය කරලා තිනවා. අපි හිතනවා ලොකු ව්‍යාපාරික අවස්ථාවක් උදා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද මේ මිනිස්සු දැන් හිර වෙලා ඉන්නේ. කවදාහරි දවසක එන්න ලැබුණොත් කඩාගෙන ඉන්නේ කියලා අපි හිතන් ඉන්නවා.
In the meantime, leading entrepreneur in the ICT sector, Jayomi Lokuliyana, highlighted the need to have a module that will strengthen the small entrepreneurs, which will eventually increase the country's business density.
ඉස්රායිල් රටේ ජනගහනය 8.1 මිලියන් වටේම ඉන්නේ ඔක්කොම එනිමීස්ලා constant state of war and එක natural resource එකක්වත් නැති රටක්. ඒත් ලෝකෙ වැඩිම ව්‍යාපාර ඝනත්වයේ තියෙන්නේ පුද්ගලයන් 1400කට එක ව්‍යාපාරයක් ඒ රටේ තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ සාර්ථකත්වයට එක හිත තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝගෙන corporations මේ පොඩි entrepreneurs එක්ක collaborate වෙලා innovations එදිට දාන. ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි universities උත් private sector එකත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා innovations එදිට හදනවා. ඒවට අවශ්‍ය funding හොයලා දෙනවා. මම හිතන්නේ අපිට ඒ වගේ model එකක් දැන් උනත් අපි පරක්කු නැහැ focus කරන්න පුළුවන් නම්.
We will see you on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Big 3.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. A parliamentarian of the Samagi Janabalawege, Eran Vikramaratne, is unhappy with the prospect of State Minister Ajit Nimad Cabral returning to the central bank as the governor. Speaking at a media briefing today, he gave his thoughts on the matter and also accused the government of obtaining a similar sum in loans as done by the government of good governance in half the time.
We have taken during the period 2015 to 2019 about a little under $5 billion of debt. This government, they have taken almost that amount in less than 2 years. This is just a comparison. But I might explain why we took so much debt during our period. Most of it we took was in the year 2019. And the reason we took it in 2019 is we knew that elections were coming at the end of 2019, and that election was going to be a presidential election. After that, there was going to be another election in 2020, which was going to be a parliamentary election. And as we all know, that when elections come, it is more difficult to access the capital markets. And therefore, we discussed it, we decided on it, we discussed it with the central bank of the country, and what we did is we took more debt than we required at that point. We took about 4.6 billion during the year, of which 2.4 billion was actually in excess of our requirements. The positive side of that was that the reserves of the country went up to $7.6 billion.
Parliamentarian of the Samagi Janabalawege, Iran Wickramaratne, also commented on the expected appointment of State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral as the new governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
This person has held this position previously. There have been many questions that have been raised. For example, the question was raised that during his period that there have been conflicts of interest. There are 5 forensic audit reports that have basically been presented, which raise a lot of questions about the tenor in which Mr. Niwad Cabral was governor of the central bank. All we are saying is we want to find out answers for these reports. Why was this commissioned? This was not commissioned by us. A presidential commission inquiring into the bond scam of 2015 February and March determined that maybe these practices have been there previously and therefore go back in history, and therefore a forensic audit was ordered by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka from January 2002 to the 28th of February 2015. We are talking of the fact that the governor of the then central bank did not disclose his conflicts of interest. While these conflicts of interest haven't been answered, how can such a person even be considered to put on the board?
The government of Sri Lanka and the World Bank has signed a $40 million additional financing for the ongoing water supply and sanitation improvement project to increase access to piped water services and improved sanitation. This additional financing is expected to expand water supply, sanitation and hygiene services in 7 districts. The project aims to increase the coverage of piped water by constructing new urban, rural and estate water supply schemes and rehabilitating existing schemes to provide households with a continuous supply of safe water. The project operates in Kegol, Ratnapura, Monaragala, Badulla, Nuwara Eliya, Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu districts. Under this additional financing, septage treatment plants are planned in 2 additional districts, Galle and Kurunegala. The project also includes specific actions to promote women's participation and decision-making in community-based organizations, such as skills development, to strengthen women's capacity to take on leadership roles and enhance women's voice through mentorship from female leaders. The project will be implemented by the Ministry of Water Supply. An earthquake has occurred in the deep seas 160 kilometers southeast of Hambantota earlier today. This was confirmed by the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau. It said that the earthquake had marked 4.1 on the Richter scale and it poses no threat of a tsunami to Sri Lanka. We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now then, market experts expect the existing volatility at the Colombo Stock Exchange to increase in the coming week. The all-share price index fell by 121.10 points last Friday and ended at 8,865.30, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks lost 40.53 points to close at 3,330.12. Now here's Dimantha Matthew to tell us what we can expect at the stock market in the coming week.
Coming week, we think this volatility will significantly increase, but there will be a higher biasness towards the selling side. We feel that there will be a lot more selling pressure coming in the upcoming week, and that is likely to overall bring the market to negative territory. We feel that turnover levels are likely to be around the 5 to 7 billion mark, and even the retail activity might continue to be high because of the selling pressure that is likely to be there in the market. Again, the stocks that are likely to decline in value are the retail favorite counters that have significantly moved up, because most of the investors are likely to be in general in profit territories, and in addition to that there could be a bit of panic selling also coming in place, which will increase the overall selling interest of the market. We feel banking sector counters, the defensive counters such as the high dividend yielding counters are the ones that investors should be focusing on.
An expert on international relations has called the US anti-terrorism strategy in Afghanistan immature, chaotic and rash, accusing the United States of not showing its sense of responsibility as a superpower. Millions of people in Afghanistan are currently internally displaced, with around 500,000 of them said to be those who fled as the Taliban swept through their villages.
A colony of tents are occupying the dust parks in Afghan capital, home to a countless number of families who fled the Taliban when they rolled into their villages last month. Tens of thousands fled the country as the deadline for the withdrawal of US troops drew near. However, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees estimates 500,000 people have been displaced internally in recent months and has warned that the number could grow if health services, schools and the economy break down. Even before the Taliban launched its final push to seize control, 3 million Afghans were already displaced in a country struggling with drought and the COVID-19 pandemic, where nearly half the population received some form of aid. A UN-sponsored high-level ministerial meeting on Afghanistan is due to be held this week and seek to raise $606 million to provide life-saving humanitarian assistance to nearly 11 million people until the end of this year. In the meantime, the Kabul International Airport has resumed normal operations for domestic flights since the beginning of early September, with support of technical teams from Qatar and Turkey. The airport was rendered dysfunctional when the United States and allied forces left Afghanistan last month, but was able to resume domestic flights within 5 days after the final evacuation, while the state-owned Ariana Afghan Airlines was the first to restart operations since the US withdrawal. The Taliban did not reportedly have the technical expertise to run the airport, so Afghan technicians and staff, alongside experts from Qatar and Turkey, are currently operating the facility. A large number of Afghans are stuck in India, Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, who say they are eagerly waiting to return to their homeland. Meanwhile, an expert on international relations said yesterday that the US anti-terrorism strategy is immature and changing all the time. The US initiated the war in Afghanistan after the September 11 attacks with the excuse of wiping out terrorism. However, UAE's Mohammed Khalfan Al-Sawafi says that 2 decades later, the US caused only instability and uncertainty for Afghan people and intensified regional conflicts. He called the US anti-terrorism strategy chaotic, rash and immature. Sawafi also accuses the US of not showing its sense of responsibility as a superpower.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.